Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at rotating £4.5 million defenders. Now, most of us are going to be playing 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 or even a 4-4-2. And as such, we're likely going to want to be starting one £4.5 million defender and benching the other. And it's important to try and get the best rotation possible so that that starter always has the best fixtures. We're going to be using the rotation planner on the Fantasy Football Fix website to inform our decision making. So without further ado, let's get into it. So guys, before we jump into the video today and I show you who I think are the optimal pairs to rotate for game weeks 1 to game week 8, I just want to show you how you can do that on the Fantasy Football Fix website so that after this video you can go and do your own research and make sure that your squad rotates optimally. So once you go onto the Fantasy Football Fix website, this is the loading page, this is what you'll come onto. If you go onto squad optimization, as well as some other cool features, you've got the rotation planner just there. So if you click on the rotation planner, it will take you to this page. Now you have the ability to customize exactly what you're looking for. The first thing it'll ask is, well, what game weeks do you want to look at? So if you've got an idea that you want to play a really early wild card and you want a wild card in game week 4 and you just want to look at those first 4 fixtures, that's absolutely fine. You can do that. For the purpose of this video, we're going to go a little bit broader. I'm going to go to game week 8, which is the second international break, which a lot of people are planning to wild card. There are a few fixture swings. So once you've chosen your game week range, you can then move on to choose, well, what do you want your rotation strategy to be? So the very simple one is you've got 2 players and you want to start one and bench one. But as you can see, you can do different strategies. So perhaps you want to start 2 of 3 players and you want to rotate so that there's always 1 on the bench and 2 starting. And as you can see, it shows you the different options. So perhaps you've got 4 players you want to rotate and you're always going to be starting 2 or benching 2. So there are some lovely options here which give you full ability to customize that. Today, the main thing we're going to be looking at is starting 1, benching 1, so rotating pairs. As well as that, you have the ability to play only home fixtures, which is obviously going to be really important this year. With fans back in the stadiums, we're expecting home fixtures to become a real advantage once again. So we're going to leave that off today, but that's definitely worth looking at. And after that, you can then choose whether you want to include or exclude certain clubs based on the players you're looking at. So for example, perhaps you're very, very certain you want to pick a Leeds player in your rotating pair. Perhaps you're sure you want Ayling in your rotating pair. You can double click on them and that locks them in. That means that you want to definitely have Leeds as part of that rotation. If you just single click on a team, you can see it fades them out, and that means you don't want to include them in that pair, or you don't want to include them in any rotation you're looking at. And that's really nice because perhaps you know, for example, you've already got 3 Liverpool players and you really don't want to include them. You don't want to include any Man United or Man City because they've all got premium assets, but you definitely want to include Leeds. And you can do that and you can have full customization. So if we do that, if we say we want a rotating pair, we want to include Leeds and exclude Liverpool, Man City and Man United, and we're not going to only play home fixtures, you can click Find Rotation, it calculates it, and then if you scroll down, you can see what it's created. So this is what the output looks like. You've got blue and red. Blue that means Fantasy Football Fix believe that is the fixture you should start the player in. So if you've got an Arsenal defender and a Leeds defender, they're suggesting you start, obviously, the Arsenal defender against Brentford rather than the Leeds defender against Man United. As you can also see, you've got best defensive rotation, but you've also got best attacking rotation. So perhaps you've got like a £5 million or a £5.5 million midfielder that you want to rotate with Timu Pukki, and you want to have a look at that. You can do that as well. And you can see it will change based on defense or attack. You can see the little note at the bottom. Attack and defense rotations are based on the opposition defense and attack ability respectively. So it changes based on the underlying statistics for the attacking team and the defensive team based on the rotation you're looking for. So this is what I'm going to be using today and taking screenshots from to be able to inform our decision making and try and find us those optimal pairs for game week 1 to game week 8. Let's get into it. So now that you've seen how you can do your own research and look at which pairs rotate best, this is, in my opinion, the 4 best pairs to rotate if you're choosing £4.5 million defenders. Now, for those of you that know who I am, I'm very interested in psychology and I talk a lot about cognitive biases and when we're being biased in our decision making. And one of the important things as content creators is to make it clear when we think we might be being biased or when there's potential for that. So I'd like to say at this current moment in time, the pair that I am rotating in my draft is Veltman and Ayling. So there is potential that I am biased by including this. However, I'm going to try and back this up with stats, and I'm going to demonstrate at the end that this could potentially be the optimal pair. So again, both priced at £4.5 million, and they rotate really, really nicely. If we look at the fixtures immediately, the fantasy football fix algorithm suggests that we actually play Veltman for the first 4 game weeks, which would mean Ayling would be on the bench for the first 4. Now, I think that's absolutely acceptable. You can see Brighton's fixtures of Burnley, Watford, Everton and Brentford are really, really, really nice fixtures. You could make a case to play Luke Ayling in game week 3 when they face Burnley away, but that's completely up to you. And then you can see after that, you're going to be alternating and you'd get Newcastle away, Crystal Palace away, Watford at home. And then if I move my head slightly, you can see it's Norwich away for Brighton in game week 8. But if you are playing the wild card for the international break, you wouldn't have the game week 8 fixtures anyway, but I've just put it there just in case. So you can see really, really nice rotation with respect to the fixtures. Veltman is arguably the best option at £4.5 million that we've got. So last season, he had the highest expected FPL points of any defender priced at £4.5 million that played over 1,500 minutes. So not including those players that only made a few cameo appearances, including only those players that had consistent minutes. He had the highest expected FPL points across the season, and this was 4.87 per 90. So arguably the best option at that price range. Also, Brighton have a fantastic defence if you're looking at underlying statistics. They actually finished the season with the 3rd best expected goals conceded per 90 and the 3rd best expected clean sheets per 90. So by all accounts, if you're looking at expected data, they had the 3rd best defence in the league last season, which is very, very impressive. So Veltman has been in most of my drafts. It was originally Lamptey, but of course we now know that his fitness isn't all there. And Dunk is a great option, but of course you have to go up to 5 million. So at the moment, I really like Veltman. Only 3.8% ownership at the time of recording. That could have potentially go up by the time this goes live, but under 5% ownership. So a big differential by all accounts. Definitely someone I'm considering. In this pair, we've got him rotating with Luke Ayling, who has a much higher ownership at 12.3%. Ayling's expected FPL points per 90 is slightly lower than Veltman at 3.72, and he can count himself quite unlucky to get no goals and no assists last season. His expected data was certainly better than 0 goals, 0 assists. And last season, he actually played a lot of it at centre-back because of loads of injuries to Leeds' defence. And now you would expect, with all of them coming back to full fitness, that Ayling will play the majority, if not all of the season, at right-back, which should only increase his attacking potential. So Luke Ayling is predicted to get 25.1 points in the first 8 game weeks, according to the Fantasy Football Fix predicted point system. And Veltman is predicted to get 29.1 points, so even more than Luke Ayling. So a really, really nice pair. The only thing I would say is that there's a potential that Veltman slots in at right centre-back or left centre-back in the back 5 as opposed to right wing-back. Now, that does stifle his attacking potential, but it'll probably put him slightly higher on bonus points, and he still has the opportunity to get the clean sheet with those great fixtures in the first 8 for Brighton, so that wouldn't put me off completely. So, yep, that's the first rotating pair. Really like it. Let's get on to the second one. So guys, the second pair is Sierralta and Luke Ayling, which is Watford and Leeds. And apologies, Watford fans, if I've butchered his name there, you can correct me in the comments. That's absolutely fine. So I'm going to be calling him Sierralta, and hopefully that's roughly correct. So the reason I like this pair is I actually think Watford's fixtures are really, really nice in the first 8, particularly in the first 6 game weeks. And I think they're potentially a better defence than people are giving them credit for. In the Championship last season, they only conceded 30 goals in 46 matches, and that was the best in the Championship by 6 goals, Norwich in second place. That's very, very impressive statistics. I know it's only the Championship, and we're yet to see if they can bring that into the Premier League, and it might be a prudent tactic to wait and see how they develop across the first few game weeks. But I quite like the idea of, if we're picking a cheap defender, to just take a punt on a defence which clearly people aren't backing with the really low percentage ownership, and do have really, really nice fixtures as well. The time that I would be considering this is if I had Sanchez in goal and I didn't want to go for Veltman in the double up, and I didn't want to pick any of the other defenders, and I wanted a nice differential. I think Sierralta is a great option. Myself, at the moment, I have Bachmann in goal and I've got Veltman in defence, so I've still got the Brighton and Watford players, but I've chosen to have Bachmann in goal. But if I had Sanchez in goal, and I might still do that, I might take a punt on Sierralta. Now, if you have a look at the fixtures down the bottom, you can see the fixed algorithm suggests that you play Watford in game week 1 against Aston Villa, then Leeds for Everton and Burnley at home, then Watford for 3 games in a row against Wolves, Norwich and Newcastle, and then Leeds again for Watford. And if I move once more, you can see it's Southampton away. So that they do rotate really nicely. You're getting 4 fixtures out of both of them in the first 8 game weeks. And yeah, it's a really, really nice rotation. So guys, in this current pair, rotation pair 3, we're going back to having Veltman in the pairing, but this time we're introducing Ben White, who actually has the highest percentage ownership of all of the £4.5 million defenders in the game, and one of the highest percentages of any defenders in the game. Now, I think probably a lot of people chose Ben White when he was at Brighton, but I don't necessarily think the move to Arsenal has made him a better or worse option really, and there are definitely ways that you could argue either way for him being a better option at Brighton or at Arsenal. So you can see 24% ownership, as I said, quite high. He is predicted to get 24.3 points in the first 8 game weeks, which is basically on par with Luke Ayling and slightly worse than Veltman. Unfortunately, with Ben White, he's got very, very limited attacking potential. You're not really relying on him for assists or goals. The expected data isn't very good for him. So essentially, you want Arsenal to be keeping clean sheets and you want Ben White to be really high on bonus points. And that's what Holding managed last season. Holding didn't have much of an attacking potential either, but he quite often finished with 9 points. That's 6 points for the 4 points for the clean sheet, 3 bonus, 2 for appearance, and he quite often got those 9 pointers without any attacking potential. So we're sort of hoping Ben White does something pretty similar there as well. If you look at the rotation between Arsenal and Brighton, it is very, very nice. You'd be playing Ben White in fixture 1 against Brentford, but you could equally play Veltman against Burnley in that fixture, or potentially both. If you want to do a rotation where you're starting 2 of 3 players, that could work as well. You can see in game week 2 and game week 3, when Arsenal have their tougher fixtures, you can play Veltman against Watford and Everton, both at home, which is really nice. Game week 4 and 5, you go back to the Arsenal Ben White against Norwich and Burnley, and then you're rotating with Crystal Palace, Brighton at home, and if I move my head once more, Crystal Palace at home in game week 8 if you don't play your wild card in game week 7. Really, really nice fixtures. 2, I would say, pretty much perfectly nailed players. I would be very, very shocked if Veltman or Ben White lose their place in the first 8 game weeks. So you've got nailed players playing in very, very good defences. Arsenal actually defended incredibly well in the second half of the season, and I'm expecting that to continue in this season as well. So yeah, 2 really good players. With Ben White, if you're a safe player and you're interested in ownership as well, you're covering a fairly highly owned player. But again, you're sacrificing the potential for attacking returns most likely. So yeah, that's rotation pair 3. Really like it. Let's move on to the 4th and final pair. So guys, for this final pair, we've discussed both of these players already. We just haven't paired them together. It's Ben White and Luke Ayling. And these are actually the 2 most highly owned £4.5 million defenders at 24% for White and 12.3% for Ayling at the time of recording. So again, if you're someone that wants to go a little bit safe and you just want to protect your rank at the start and gather information and try to look at trends, then Ben White and Luke Ayling are really, really nice options early on. Obviously, combined price of 9 million, you're getting good fixtures in good teams, so I definitely like it. So we've considered all the underlying statistics and why you might want to include these 2 players, but just to look at the bottom, the rotation that you will get with the fixtures, you'll get Brentford in game week 1, Everton and Burnley in 2 and 3, Norwich and Burnley in 4 and 5, and then West Ham and Watford in 6 and 7. And then again, if you're not playing your wild card in game week 7, in game week 8, you get Crystal Palace at home for Ben White again. So really, really nice rotation for White and Ayling. If you want to play a bit safe, or maybe you just like both the options, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing playing safe, then I do like White and Ayling. So yeah, that's the 4th and final pair. We're now going to look at, well, which of the pairs are predicted to get the highest points from game week 1 to game week 8. So what I've done here is using the Fantasy Fix algorithm, which looks at predicted points for upcoming game weeks. And now I should say quickly at this point that it'll obviously become more and more accurate across the season as we gather data. But based on the data from last season, this is what, if you use the Fantasy Football Fix rotation planner and you rotate the pairs accordingly, this is how many points you're predicted to get from that pair in the first 8 game weeks. And so I've done that for each of the pairs. So if you rotate Veltman and Luke Ayling, you're predicted to get 30.3 points. And that is the highest predicted points for a pair that I've included in this video. So again, that is the pair that I'm going with. And it's a lovely bit of confirmation bias there that is potentially the best pair to rotate. If you rotate Sierralta and Ayling, it's the lowest at 25.8 points. Now, that's most likely because we don't know how Watford are going to perform in the Premier League, and therefore they're predicted to perform slightly worse defensively than perhaps they will. But again, it is an unknown quantity choosing a Watford defender, so do so at your own risk, but I do think it's still a nice option. Veltman and White is the second best pairing according to the Fix algorithm at 29.1 points, and then White and Ayling is the third best at 28.8 points. Now, you can do this for individual players. You can look at your predicted points for the entire team for however many game weeks you want, and I think it's a really nice way of just looking to see if you've got the best optimal rotation in your players and if there's any way you can improve that. But according to this data, at least, Veltman and Ayling are the best rotating pair for the first 8 game weeks. So guys, there you have it. They are in my opinion, the optimal rotating pairs if you're looking to rotate £4.5 million defenders in the first 8 game weeks. As I said, if you change the sample size and you only want to do that for game weeks 1 to 4 because you want to play an early wildcard, or perhaps you're looking at wildcarding in game week 5 or 6, then of course that will change also. So do have a play around on the website, change the sample size. Also change the different players that you want to rotate in. Perhaps you want to have a Crystal Palace player in there or an Everton player. It's completely up to you who you choose to include. But in my opinion, those are the optimal choices. If you like this style of video and you want more of it, please comment below. Please do like and subscribe, and go and watch the introductory video that I recorded a few days ago, which explains our exciting content that's coming up this season. Just a reminder, we now offer 65% for pre-season on premium memberships on the Fantasy Football Fix website. You can sign up for free, but if you want to make the most of all of the features, you do have to pay. But 65% off is obviously a brilliant offer. So I'll link that in the description below. So if you do want to sign up, now's the time. Use that link and get 65% off. But that's it for today, guys. We'll have more content coming this week. So if you do like it, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you all soon. Cheers, guys.